In addition to dozens of thesis statements and several written papers, my explorations of understanding and healing unconscious minds from the inside out led to developing some theories. My personal dimensions theory is one of the most exciting breakthroughs of my healing journey, and it was a key foundation in understanding my unique experiences and cultivating tools to lovingly transform them from the inside out. I believe that eyes are the window to the unconscious mind. It's the one space where consciousness and neurobiological applications simultaneously collide with internal and external realities. There are no other elements of the brain-body system or personal experience where that collision occurs. Because of this miraculous experience of visual eyesight, we have so many hidden keys to understand and heal ourselves in ever-evolving ways. According to my personal dimensions theory, our visual eyesight absorbs energetic data of vibrational stimulus from 3 distinct points. The first involves 9 points ranging from left to right. The primary points are directly to the left, directly straight forward, and directly to the right. Between these 3 primary points, there are 3 points on each side. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 visual points ranging from left to right, where our eyes are gathering energetic intel from the surrounding atmosphere. The next phase that gathers visual data involves near to far. It spans visual distance. This ranges along this scale involving 7 distinct points. The first point is 1 to 2 inches from the eyes. The second point is 2 to 4 inches from the eyes. The third point is 4 to 8 inches from the eyes. The fourth point is 8 to 14 inches from the eyes. The fifth point is 1 to 6 feet from the eyes. The sixth point is 6 to 12 feet from the eyes. And the seventh point is anything beyond 12 feet away. So our visual data is constantly absorbing intel from near to far along 7 specific points, each an approximate distance from the eyes that are gathering this energetic information. According to my personal dimensions theory, the third space where eyes are gathering energetic data from the surrounding atmosphere involves the circumference or a circular direction around the face. And this involves 16 distinct points. The primary points are directly up, directly down, directly to the right, directly to the left. And then there are 3 points between these primary points. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So altogether 16 points in this circumference of visual data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 points where eyes are gathering visual intel within the circumference of visual eyesight. Here's the important part about how the personal dimensions theory helps us understand activity within the unconscious mind. Energetic information from every variation of these 3 visual points are processed independently through distinct regions of neural wiring. So there's all these different variations of these 3 points, from left to right, from near to far, and in this circumference. There might be a piece here, there might be a visual piece here. There's infinite potentials for how these 3 visual points interact. And at every single intersection of these 3 points, energetic information is being gathered from the atmosphere and processed independently through neural wiring. Our eyes are not gathering one picture. Our eyes are gathering this piece of information, 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 this piece of information. And all that data is then being translated through distinct portions of neural wiring. When there's effective connectivity throughout the neural wiring, then the eyes gather all this data and the brain effectively interprets it to create what we experience as one picture of our present experience or our visual reality. But when neural data does not have fluid connectivity, different pieces of visual stimulus may be independently processed, translated, and interpreted to project independent realities onto distinct regions of parts of consciousness or aspects of self-essence. We can explore fresh understandings of activity within the unconscious body-mind or subconscious realms as we explore the idea that each piece of data is being translated and processed as it activates neural information. So styles of subconscious experiences depend on what data is being gathered from the atmosphere. And depending on what it is and what visual point it's being acquired from, it's activating certain styles of neural activity, certain regions of unconscious energetic associations that are providing navigation regarding identity and experience. There's another miraculous variable to this concept of my personal dimensions theory. The 4th variable of neural activity involves bodily posture. So the way that my eyes are gathering data and that data is activating neural intel that's projecting automated interpretations of reality can be different if I'm here versus if I'm looking up. So the visual data is still the same. There might be this piece along the circumference of visual eyesight and this level of depth from my eyes and this space from left to right. But how my brain will translate this piece of information is different from how it will translate this piece of information. And how it will translate this piece of information is different from how it will translate this piece of information because my neck is in a different posture. When there's effective neural connectivity throughout the neurobiological social engagement system, there will not be a noticeable difference in these translations of reality. The automated sense of identity and how the identity is interacting with immediacies of personal reality and experience will feel the same. But when there's not effective connectivity throughout the neurobiological social engagement system due to independent neural activations, such as within unique orders or unique order of the neurobiological social engagement system, then how the unconscious body-mind interprets styles of vibrational signals can be different in all the different spaces of visual potentials along these three visual eye points, left to right, near to far, and the circumference, 9 points, 7 points, and 16 points. And then in addition, if the body is in different postures, such as sitting versus running, looking up versus looking down, if your body is in a certain posture versus another type of a posture. Movements of the body also affect how these vibrational signals are gathered from the atmosphere through the eyes and translated into automated styles of personal realities through activations of neural data. The journey to cultivating this idea was a miraculously fascinating one. While experiencing life through over 24 independent states of consciousness, I began noticing that different persons inside of my one body were experiencing different points of visual experience. And then in addition, when the body was in different postures, there were shifts in how these states of consciousness within my neurobiological social engagement system were absorbing and translating visual stimulus along these 3 points and all the variations of them. For example, when I would look in a mirror and the mirror is up here, I would see a completely different person than when the mirror was over here and I was looking over here. And both of those people were different from the me I saw when the mirror was right here. As I realized that how I was seeing myself was dependent on how vibrational signals were activating neural data to create automated interpretations of reality, I began to realize that when my eyes moved and when my head moved and at all these different points, then it was being processed through different regions of neural data to create different types of personal experiences. I played with this concept with other forms of sensory data and applied that information along my healing journey as well. For example, auditory stimulus, dependent on distance, location, and vibrational frequency, or the decibels of the sound, it would activate different styles of brain-body activity. Similarly, somatic sensation stimulated different types of energetic information within my unconscious body-mind. Different styles of texture or touch at different points of my skin throughout my body caused activation of distinct styles of neural intel or implicit information. For example, I burned my hand when I was 14 years old, so over a decade ago. It was a very severe burn and it caused markings all over my hand, and fascinatingly enough, my hand never forgot that information. My mind didn't pay much attention to it because it was an experience, And then it eventually ended and I was in other experiences without awareness that my body was holding all of the information from all of those experiences. And moments of unfulfilled attachment needs, such as when your hand catches on fire, there's not a felt sense of safety within the unconscious body-mind when there's a flame on top of your skin. Then that information never achieves neural connectivity. And remember that memories live everywhere. They're not just in a part of our brain, they're through all of our brain and body. And again, remember that memories don't care about storing the past. They are how our unconscious body-mind navigates reality, including personalized sense of identity and personal experience. And so my hand, this part of my hand, carried implicit information within neural wiring about that experience of how the hand caught on fire. During this period of my life where I could not create conscious explicit memories, I experienced what I described as an inside-out consciousness, where instead of having access to my present sense of self and present reality, I had access to my unconscious sense of self and unconscious realities. Rather than experiencing myself as an explicit, lucid human being in the immediate moment, I was experiencing a variety of implicit information throughout my unconscious body-brain system or throughout my unconscious body-mind. During these experiences, I had a baby rabbit who is named Agudikit, and he's the coolest rabbit in the entire universe. And this baby rabbit would lick my skin right here on the part of my thumb that had been burned over a decade ago. During this process, when the rabbit licked my skin right here, my entire brain-body system relived the experience of the hand catching on fire. And the experience itself was only a couple minutes at most. You know, my hand was on fire, so I ran to put it under some water, and then eventually the fire was not on my skin anymore, thankfully. So the experience itself wasn't a very big experience. It was like a few seconds to a couple minutes tops. I don't know the exact sense of time. Sense of time's a little warped when your hand is on fire. But it was a brief experience over a decade ago. Yet as this baby rabbit licked my skin right here, with every single lick, it was stimulating the activation of neural data from those seconds of experience. And the way the unconscious body-mind works is very different from the way our conscious mind works. We consciously understand time in relation to seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. Our unconscious body-mind doesn't understand those concepts at all. If you were to sit your unconscious body-mind down and try to have a conversation and be like, so here's the conceptualization of time. There is a moment, and then a moment later there is another moment. And the accumulation of these moments creates this thing called seconds and minutes and hours. And then after a certain number of moments have passed, it has been 1 hour. Unconscious body-mind would be like, huh? The unconscious body-mind has a totally different language regarding the passage of time. And understanding this really helps us understand these subconscious realities that are constantly impacting us beyond our immediate awareness. The unconscious body-mind understands time in relation to nanoseconds and milliseconds. So while the conscious self is up here and is like, it has been 1 moment or 1 second or 1 minute, the unconscious body-mind is like, I've had 1,000 different activations. I've had 1,000,000 different pieces of information. So when there's even a few seconds of experience, the information gathered from that has a remarkably profound effect on our unconscious body-mind. Every nanosecond, every millisecond moments faster than our conscious mind could ever possibly comprehend, is gathering new pieces of information. So as my hand had caught on fire, and that experience lasted for a very brief time, from the point of my hand catching on fire to the fire being extinguished, that passage of time held millions of pieces of energetic information that were stored inside of that region of my body. And so as this baby rabbit was licking this area on my skin, those millions of pieces of energetic information were being activated and unconsciously projected into my immediate reality. I was not a woman in my 20s sitting in a moment. I was the sensation of my hand being on fire. I wasn't a person. I didn't have an age. I didn't have a location in time and space. I didn't have any of the grounded lucidity or the gifts of sanity that allow me to be experiencing myself as I am today, for example. Instead, I was just the sensations that were being activated, which were your hands on fire. And so that was the only aspect of my reality as this rabbit licked that part of my skin. But then the rabbit would lick a different part of my skin, such as the areas on my arms where there was self-harm from past years. And then that energetic information was being activated. And so I didn't have access to this information because that was not being stimulated through tactile sensation as this rabbit licked my skin. Instead, there's information over here, and then that was my entire sense of personal reality. It was all the sensations from those past experiences of self-harm. And so the body carries all kinds of different information. And so the style of somatic sensation, or the type of touch on the skin and where it's touching on the skin, also stimulates specific styles of activity within the unconscious body-mind. My personal dimensions theory specifically focuses on visual eyesight, however, because it's the one space where neurobiology and consciousness simultaneously collide with inner and outer realities. So there's a deeper opportunity to explore how vibrational stimulus or energetic signals affect activity within the unconscious body-mind to produce distinctly unique styles of personal experience for specific regions of subconscious parts. According to my theories, there are trillions of parts of consciousness experiencing life in 99.08% of our inner being beyond our direct perception and immediate awareness. What are they up to? What are they experiencing that we don't know about? And how is that impacting our sensations of unfolding realities without our ability to directly and immediately be aware of those underlying causalities? My personal dimensions theory helps to provide a little bit of insight. In any given moment, there's an infinite number of parts of consciousness experiencing neural projections in association with vibrational signals gathered from these three spaces of visual points, with the added variable of bodily posture, and then that information is activating distinct regions of neural data with any types of abstract associations. For example, if you look in a mirror and you hold the mirror up here, then it's going to activate a certain region of neural data carrying information regarding self-recognition. And so there's visual stimulus regarding the energetic information of your face as you look in a mirror. And that data is being absorbed, but because the eyes are looking in a certain direction, how that data will be gathered and processed is different than how this data will be gathered and processed, even though the stimulus is the same. So depending on the points of these three visual particulars with the added variable of bodily postures, for example, if you're walking forwards versus walking backwards, there will be different styles of neural activations. And then the type of vibrational signal causes activation of specific styles of neural associations, because memories are all about abstract associations. So when I was looking in a mirror up here, for example, it was independently activating neural data from early childhood. So when I looked up, how my brain interpreted reality was that I was seeing my childhood self. But then when I held the mirror here, at a different point within these variables, I saw my present day adult self rather than a childhood self, because even though the visual stimulus was the same, it was still my face in a mirror. It was at a different visual point activating different data within my neurobiological social engagement system, which was creating an alternate version of translating immediacies of personal reality. Here, I had access to more updated neural data that understood my sense of self in relation to an adult and my adult body, but this region of neural data that was activated was an independent area of my neural wiring from early childhood that didn't have connectivity with this neural data. So in any given moment, we have an infinite number of parts of consciousness who are experiencing neural activations according to the point of vibrational stimulus gathered according to my personal dimensions theory and the type of stimulus being absorbed, activating a variety of unconscious associations. That energetic information is being projected onto realities of subconscious parts beyond awareness. So subconscious parts are first-handedly experiencing an infinite array of neural activations in every nanosecond. So while we're up here and we might experience a few thoughts in a few seconds, that is only a minuscule fraction of what's actually happening, because while this is happening up here, we consciously observe a few thoughts happening in a few seconds. During that time, our subconscious parts experienced thousands, if not millions, of energetic projections. So energetic projections are much more abstract than a thought or feeling. It's almost like taking a thought or a feeling, slicing it down to an infinite number of parts, because you slice it and then you can slice those sliced pieces again, and it gets to an infinitely small amount of pieces from this one thought. The profoundly minuscule aspect of a fraction of a thought is similar to one energetic neural projection experienced by subconscious parts. So they're very, very, very profoundly, indescribably abstract. It's not the way that we would consciously experience memory recall, for example. We might be up here and say, I remember the one time I pet a giraffe at the zoo. In that time, the subconscious parts might experience hundreds or thousands or possibly millions of energetic projections of all the different pieces of information, such as one sight of the giraffe, or one moment of touching the giraffe, or one feeling of the wind on the skin, or one sound that was heard. They're very, very abstract pieces of information that do not automatically have connections. How those connections are made depend on integration of neural wiring or connectivity of implicit data within and throughout the neurobiological social engagement system. So subconscious parts are experiencing an infinite amount of inner realities that precede automated styles of thoughts and feelings. I once estimated that for every one thought we think, subconscious parts have experienced 90 or more energetic projections. And if we're experiencing dozens of thoughts and feelings, then they're experiencing hundreds or thousands or millions of energetic projections beyond what we know about. And this hidden reality, the 99.08% of our inner beings that we do not directly know about, is what we need to explore to have the potentials to understand and heal ourselves in any type of situation, whether it's a health challenge or a relational challenge or anything along the spectrum of personal experience, whether we want to improve the quality of our life or transform something that's inhibiting the quality of our life. There's always somewhere that we're trying to expand and evolve as individuals along our everyday healing journeys through life. And having the opportunity to understand and heal our unconscious body minds is what can open infinite gateways to expanding and evolving and transforming and uplifting our automated styles of personal experience. One way to explore the hidden realities of subconscious parts is to explore visual stimulus. So there's these 3 different points, left to right, near to far, and the circumference with the added variable of bodily posture. But the visual points is more important than the bodily posture. These points, and then the type of vibrational signal being received or absorbed, and then potential neural associations of those stimulus. And then we can explore the hidden realities of subconscious parts as infinite parts are experiencing those neural projections beyond direct perception and immediate awareness, subtly and covertly impacting personal experience from behind the scenes of consciousness. While exploring videos of some of the experiences that led me to where I am today the past few years, I found some where the Kristin I was would experience something where her eyes got stuck on certain visual points. And I believe there's a clip of this actually in the first part of this known documentary series, The Saga, where I share my personal healing journey. So please feel free to check that out. But Kristin was sitting there and her eyes were looking, I believe it was up and to the right. And she was like, my eyes are stuck. Why are my eyes doing that? I can't move them.
I can't do it without looking up.
Okay, well you have to be looking in here. So try the typing on the table then. All right.
And this one?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to look in the mirror.
Yeah, but what's up there, huh? Why are we doing that?
Oh, just spackle.
Well, that's going to that noise.
Your brain is rejecting the treatment. Your brain's like, no, this is a part of your brain you're not allowed to use right now.
Sounds about right, yo.
And so there is this unconscious activity of the eyes. And I now understand it's because a certain region of the unconscious body mind was engaging unconscious information, and it didn't have connection with different neural regions, and it didn't have total connection with the conscious mind or the power of the present awareness. And so the conscious self couldn't tell the body to move the eyes elsewhere, and the point where activations were occurring couldn't connect with other neural data. So the eyes just got stuck looking at a certain corner of the room, and instead of seeing whatever was there, the unconscious body mind was energetically seeing neural activations in association with that region within the neurobiological social engagement system. And so there was a certain point, left to right, near to far, and the circumference. There's this certain point where data was being gathered from, and the unconscious body mind basically got stuck on that data because it couldn't reach the grounded sense of presence in the awareness, and it couldn't connect with other data. So the eyes were just stuck there and they couldn't move consciously or unconsciously for a period of time. My personal dimensions theory provides some unique insights about how subconscious parts are experiencing life. There are some parts of us who are experiencing central vision. Simultaneously, there are other parts of our consciousness experiencing peripheral vision. But here's the thing, they're not experiencing it as peripheral vision. This is considered peripheral vision from the perspective of central vision. There's this, what we're consciously seeing, and then there's this, what we're unconsciously or subconsciously seeing, or what's in the backdrop of our experience that we have some awareness is there, but there's not a sense of direct focus on that, okay? If you wanted to perceive a detail about something over here, you wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. You would look at it, and then once it's in your central vision, you would be able to articulate aspects of its details to yourself or to someone else. Okay, so we've got central vision here, peripheral here, but the parts of our consciousness who are experiencing peripheral vision experience that information as their form of central vision. So there's parts of our consciousness within our direct perception and immediate awareness who are perceiving our sense of central vision. But then there's all of these other parts of our consciousness who are experiencing all of this other visual data near and far and all the different corners and everything. Everything that's not central is being experienced by parts of consciousness. But how they are seeing it is the same clarity and particular detail as what we are seeing in our central vision. So while my conscious awareness is perceiving some subconscious parts here, other subconscious parts are directly seeing what's here and directly seeing what's here and directly seeing what's here and directly seeing what's here. But because it's beyond my direct perception and immediate awareness, it doesn't feel like a visual focus. What I am seeing in my peripheral vision while I'm here in my central vision is actually the form of central vision for other parts of my consciousness deeper within my unconscious body mind than what I can directly access in any given moment. Discovering this is extremely fascinating. While living with alternate states of consciousness, there would be a completely different person seeing something here than the person who was seeing something here. But it was being processed like it was two forms of central vision. Rather than central vision and peripheral vision being experienced by one state of consciousness, independent persons were having two distinct encounters with reality where they each had their own form of central vision or direct visual perception. This is helpful to understand because parts of our consciousness, in 99.08% of our inner being beyond awareness, some of them are experiencing a form of direct visual sensations beyond our own form of central vision. Even just keeping this in mind can help us connect with the hidden realities of our own subconscious parts, experiencing neurobiological activity within our unconscious body-mind. These insights can help us understand ourselves and one another to a much deeper degree. If someone's kind of looking off into space, a lot of time they're not necessarily looking into space or seeing something externally. A lot of times it has to do with how the unconscious body-mind is unconsciously experiencing neural activations. Looking at certain points might create a calming effect. For example, this concept is actually explored in the brain spotting technique by David Grand. So you can explore more about this part of the idea in his book, which is excellent and I highly recommend. The other way the personal dimensions theory can help us have deeper insight into understanding ourselves and one another is understanding individuals who are experiencing uniquorders or unique order of neural wiring within the neurobiological social engagement system, especially stemming from adverse childhood experiences or early life traumatic stress. Presently, this is described as structural dissociation, which may manifest through diagnoses such as borderline personality disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or various types of dissociative disorders, including otherwise specified dissociative disorders and dissociative identity disorder, or what I refer to as adaptable consciousness condition. When there is unique order of wiring within the neurobiological social engagement system, especially to the degree of reaching adaptable consciousness condition, where life is experienced through alternate states of consciousness or multiple inner persons, then there's all these different internal realities experienced by different aspects of consciousness or parts of self-essence. When this occurs with this unique neural order, then these different points of visual eyesight might be experienced by completely independent aspects of consciousness. Parts of self-essence who are in their own independent sensation of personal reality, because the neurobiological social engagement system, with all these different roles from all this neural wiring from every year of life, doesn't have instinctive communicative connectivity, and so there's independent activity within all of these different roles. And so the visual stimulus gathered from right here might be experienced by different parts of consciousness than those experiencing visual data from right here. When someone's experiencing life with alternate states of consciousness, such as adaptable consciousness condition or dissociative identity disorder, then these visual points might be experienced by completely independent persons. The person who is seeing what is here might be different than the person who is seeing something right here, but it's happening simultaneously. And then the person who's seeing things several feet away or off in the distance might be a completely different person, an independent state of consciousness than the persons who are seeing this thing and this thing. But it's happening simultaneously. And this can add to some of the chaos that might be experienced in uniquarters. And so having this awareness can help us understand ourselves and one another, especially when living with unique order of neural wiring. In addition to helping us understand unconscious body-minds, the personal dimensions theory expands potentials to cultivate healing resources. Two in particular profoundly assisted me along my personal healing journey. I applied them every single day for several years, and they contributed to my ability to harness the power of my consciousness to rewire my brain-body systems and expand neural connectivity so that more aspects of my inner being could experience healing homecomings. My brain-body system could gradually develop new protocols that increased automatic communication and unconscious regulation throughout all systems, including all of my different nervous systems. The first of these healing practices is something that I call bilateral body movements. I share some videos about this idea on my video channel at youtube.com/Kristin Chronicles, so please feel free to explore those at your leisure. Bilateral body movements basically engages both sides of the body to stimulate certain styles of activity within the unconscious body-mind. I'd like to explain how this might be applied along a self-healing journey. There's two types of bilateral body movements, parallel and non-parallel. You might move your hands in movements simultaneously where they're mirroring each other. Or they might be alternating movements, and one moves and then the other repeats that movement. So they're doing the same thing, but not at the same time. So there's parallel and non-parallel body movements. This stimulates the brain-body system in a specific way because each side of the body is connected with the opposite brain hemisphere. So doing this is engaging my left brain and doing this is engaging my right brain. And so when we're doing these movements, it's stimulating both brain hemispheres simultaneously in a very specific way. Then you add the concept of visual eyesight. While moving the body in particular ways, either parallel or non-parallel, the eyes will shift where and how they're looking. The power of consciousness applies its internal energy through attention and intention, and that's how it has the power to rewire the brain-body system. So the eyes shift where and how it's looking with an intention of lovingly connecting with the inner experiencer and attention towards grounded connection in the present moment. So the hands and the arms are moving either parallel or non-parallel, and then the eyes are connecting with different elements of the experience. They might be looking at the fingertips, and you might move the eyes without moving the head. Or you might move the head without moving the eyes, because remember, bodily posture affects how visual data is processed and interpreted. And then you might go from focusing on the fingertips to focusing on something far away and shift back and forth. There you're activating different regions of neural data because distance affects neural activations. What's activated from looking here is activating something different than when looking at something far away, regardless of what that thing is. And when there's focus on self aspects and nature, that has the most profound benefits because it reduces the potential to activate neural associations affiliated with different types of pain. For example, if you see a person, then it's going to activate neural data associated with people, and then things kind of get messy and complicated because then there's all these subconscious activations contributing to personal experience beyond awareness. But if you focus on your own being, like looking at your hands, and you focus on nature, then the gentle stimulus of that can create new healing neural connections, and it basically just clears the channel for neural connectivity to flow more fluidly. So you might be looking at your fingertips, and then you might look at something far away, and then you might look at your fingertips, and then you might look at something far away, and you might turn your head to look at your fingers, and then you might turn your eyes to look at your fingers, and you might look up, and you might look down, and you might look there, and you might look there, and then you're looking past you, and then you're looking at your fingertips. In every nanosecond, this process is activating specific regions of neural data. And so I'm activating this region, I'm activating this region, I'm activating this region, I'm activating this region. So all these different neural activations. When there's a practice of loving presence while intentionally activating these different regions of neural data, you're actually growing new neural connections. You're saying, okay, information here, information here, information here. We're all going to connect and hang out right now. And you don't have to explore the neural content to improve its connectivity with this practice. A lot of times healing practices will dive into the content of neural wiring to improve connectivity. But this kind of bypasses that and just says, we're going to activate whatever's hanging out over here. We're just going to connect it just to make things a little bit more fluid in all of the unconscious body mind and just kind of sharpen everything up very abstractly, very generally, and in a very free-flowing, fun way. And so you throw some music on and you make it a dance, okay? You make it a dance. You can engage your whole body in this, and you got your hands moving, and you're expressing yourself, and you're letting your energy flow. And in the process, you're moving your body in parallel or non-parallel movements, which connects with different elements of the nervous system and different styles of brain activity. And then you shift the visual eye points, left to right, circumference, and near to far, to activate different regions of neural data. And then by shifting through all of this with loving presence, you're improving neural connectivity throughout the neurobiological social engagement system, which can improve health within the unconscious body-mind. And the more you practice this, the more transformation will be achieved and experienced. For example, if you practice this for 30 minutes to an hour every day for a year, you'll actually rewire a significant portion of your unconscious body-mind and improve neural connectivity so that more parts of your consciousness can have instinctive ability to connect, communicate, and collaborate within subconscious realms, meaning beyond conscious awareness. Parts love to hang out with one another. It's only when neural data creates roadblocks that parts experience difficulties connecting, communicating, or collaborating. It's never the parts of consciousness who are struggling. Instead, it's the neural wiring that's struggling. And so the goal is to improve fluid flows in the neural wiring so parts can be more of who they truly are. Okay, so for example, you might have a bilateral body movement session where you're doing something like this, and you're all over the place, and you're just having fun, and you're flowing with it, but every time you're visually focusing on your hands, you're making new associations with yourself. And so this can help reduce the underlying causalities of dissociation, for example. If you have a hard time connecting with your physical body or different aspects of your own inner being, then this can actually gradually help heal those experiences or improve well-being within them. And so as you're moving, you're having fun, you're expressing yourself, maybe you've got some music going on or something, you're shifting your eyes. Every time you're looking right, you're looking left, you're looking near, you're looking far. Every time you're doing that, you're reaching different spaces of neural data in every nanosecond. And with each activation, neural data undergoes rewiring reconstruction. So as you're activating this and activating this and activating this and practicing loving presence where you're connecting with yourself and your body in the moment, you're improving neural connectivity throughout all of these regions just by having fun. So it's really about how you direct your internal energy. You could just do this and not be consciously present with it. But if you're moving very mindfully and intentionally shifting your visual eyesight while practicing loving presence and practicing being there for your own internal attachment needs, this practice can actually produce some profound healing results along any type of journey through life. This practice is also really powerful because it reaches all the different variables. You're moving your body a lot. So then you're not just reaching these 9 points, these 7 points, and these 16 points. You're also reaching the infinite variables about how stimulus activates neural data from all of those different points from the position of so many different body movements. So bilateral body movements is basically a type of meditative dance where you can transform neural connectivity within your unconscious body-mind through the power of your own attention and intention. The locational setting where bilateral body movements are performed can also add healing potentials. In every moment, the vibrational signals absorbed from the environmental setting are activating neural data associated with that location. Thus, in subconscious realities, parts are experiencing neural projections associated with their environmental setting, even when the eyes are not focused on where the body is in the present moment. In the background of the unconsciousness, every piece of visual stimulus, even from the far corners of peripheral vision, are activating neural data associated with the location that the body is experiencing life in the present moment. Data associated with that exact location and any elements of locations carrying associations with that will be activated and projected into subconscious realities. Thus, those streams of neural data may covertly experience radical reconstruction or reconstructive wiring through bilateral body movements, gradually improving neural connectivity throughout these streams of data. For example, while healing myself, I performed bilateral body movements in locations where I danced during the years when I could not create conscious explicit memories. Even though I cannot directly get to the info gathered during those years of personal experience, being in the exact same location unconsciously activates those implicit memory fragments. Performing bilateral body movements allows me to gradually rewire those pieces of data so that more parts of my consciousness can experience healing homecomings. I practice looking at my fingertips and then looking far in the distance at elements of nature while moving my body in various bilateral dance moves. Most importantly, I practice loving presence by lovingly connecting with my experiential self, or parts of consciousness who are my inner experiencer, and practicing presence with my body existing in the immediate moment in the power of the now. This gradually helps increase unconscious regulation and unconscious navigation by expanding neural connectivity indirectly. Bilateral body movements are also very powerful because it creates space to release energy. If you're moving your body and you're looking over here and it suddenly activates neural data from a past moment of not feeling safe, then it creates this opportunity to release that energy from the body. So not only are you improving neural connectivity in a very profound and expansive way, but you can actually transform some of the content as well without directly reaching into it. You might notice thoughts, feelings, or somatic sensations arise, and simply by observing them and then letting them go as you redirect energy towards loving presence and this activity of engaging in bilateral body movements, you can actually move that energy out of the body by directing it through your movements. So let's say you're moving and you notice that this one movement tends to create this sensation of fear or panic in your body. Every time you activate it and then release the energy through movement and redirect yourself towards loving presence, you're actually rewiring that neural data. As it becomes activated, parts of consciousness will experience those sensations of not feeling safe. You notice them, and then you notice that you are safe in the moment. And then you notice that, and it activates. And then you redirect yourself towards your current experience and release the energy through movement and continue creating new neural connections. Because if this neural data has information about not being safe, but this neural data has information about being safe, then you activate this and then focus here, and you activate this and then focus here, and you activate this and then you focus here. You're actually rewiring that neural data so that this piece knows that there's also information about being safe. And then everything can start to flow more fluidly, because then parts of consciousness are not over here in an independent experience of feeling unsafe. They're able to connect with parts who do feel safe, and then it can all fluidly flow, and the information is shared, and those parts start to feel more safe in the present moment as they realize that that's past information within the unconsciousness. So bilateral body movements is one example of applying the personal dimensions theory to create a healing practice that can improve health within the unconscious body-mind. Another example is something that I call the Personal Dimensions Meditative Mirror Exercise Series. While applying this, I encountered some profoundly unique experiences that helped me explore my unconscious mind in ways that I never imagined possible. And during the process, I was able to gradually cultivate healing within my unconscious body-mind. Basically, I would apply mirror meditations while moving the mirror in different ways, connecting with different points of visual eyesight according to the personal dimensions theory. And then I added body movements to some of them. So it was a meditative mirror exercise series with multiple exercises, and each one got a little more complex. For example, one of the simpler ones was having a mirror, and I would go through those 16 points around the circumference of my face and then switch directions and do it again. And here there was no head movement, it was just eye movements. And what would happen is while doing this, my brain would get stuck and I could feel it. And as I stayed there in the space of stuckness, I helped increase neural connectivity. So for example, if I'm applying it and I have the mirror here and I'm slowly moving it and I notice this space where things are stuck, which might be noticeable by somatic sensations or by seeing multiple versions of myself instead of just one person. There's a lot of different kinds of clues that would come up, but I developed a way to recognize when things got stuck in a certain space. And then I would stay there until the stuckness started to dissolve. So I would stay there in this point of contact, and whatever I was noticing would gradually decrease. And sometimes it took quite a while. And an important part about this is connecting with the consciousness within experience. You're not just looking at yourself and your body in the mirror. It's just a tool to connect with the consciousness within you. And so in this process, I would stay in these spaces that would get stuck, and it would create new neural connections. Through this process, I was able to connect with different parts of my consciousness. I recognized that the state of consciousness who was here was different from the state of consciousness who was here, who is different from the state of consciousness who's here, who is different from the state of consciousness who is here. So then if I wanted to communicate with a certain state of my consciousness that I didn't have direct access to because of independent activity within my neurobiological social engagement system, then I could just look at wherever they were in this mirror process and be like, hey, okay, now your neural data is activated. Hey, I needed to communicate this with you. Because I couldn't fluidly communicate within my unconscious body-mind because of how traumatic stress was causing independent activity throughout all of my different systems, creating alternate inner realities and interpretations of outer reality for different aspects of my consciousness. Within my Personal Dimensions Meditative Mirror Exercise series, some of the more complex ones involved walking forward and backwards while holding the mirror in different points, near and far, left and right, and within the circumference. So there was all the variables applied. And then I added variations because sometimes I would have the mirror be over here, but I was looking directly forward. But I know that there's different parts of me who are seeing right over here than what's seeing here. And so then that would connect with my consciousness and my neurobiological applications in an even different way to expand neural connectivity. Applying mirror meditations with different angles, different distances, at different depths of perception, and then different bodily postures, moving forward, moving backwards, having the head turned right, having the head turned left, having the head look up, having the head look down, and the mirror's here, and the mirror's here, and the mirror's here, and you're looking directly at yourself, or you're looking straight ahead, and then the mirror's over here, and other parts of you are seeing the reflection of yourself. All these different variables can improve neural connectivity. When healing from any type of traumatic stress, this can be especially helpful because you're able to create new neural associations with yourself. A lot of times when there's trauma, the unconscious body-mind no longer feels safe to associate itself with its own self. Okay, trauma happens and then it understands, okay, when I'm me, pain happens. When I'm me and I'm in my body and I'm being myself, then there's consequences in unpleasant situations. So it's just much easier to not be associated with me because then I can protect myself from that happening. All of that information is unconscious though. The consciousness never chooses that. The neurobiological properties never decide that intentionally. It's just something that automatically happens within the storage of neural data in response to traumatic events or traumatic stress. While healing, this process of applying the Personal Dimensions Meditative Mirror Exercise series or similar types of mirror exercises in relation to this personal dimensions theory can help increase unconscious associations with the self, both with the physical body and parts of consciousness perceivable through the colored portion of the eyes when looking at yourself in a mirror. And when it's applied in all these different ways, where the mirror's in different positions, the body's either sitting or laying down or standing up or moving forward and moving backward or moving this way, moving that way, or moving side to side, left to right, right to left, then it activates all this different neural data and you create new unconscious associations with yourself, which can gradually help heal underlying causalities of dissociation, traumatic stress activations, and other types of implicit battles that may result from the underlying traumatic stress trapped within the body's nervous systems. My personal dimensions theory is that visual stimulus is gathered from variations of 3 distinct eye points, 9 along left to right, 7 along near to far, and 16 along the circumference of visual eyesight. Visual stimulus from these different points and different variations of these points activates different regions of neural data. Applying these insights can help us understand and heal unconscious body minds in new ways.